As you all know, Apple just had WWDC 2020, and with that, iOS 14. Now, if you've been following me on Instagram, then you know that I've actually been using the iOS 14 beta for the past week just to cement my thoughts and opinions as a student on the update. While most thought that this was just going to be a maintenance year, a lot of useful features came, making this a pretty big update for all of our phones. So after having used iOS 14 for the past week, I'm going to show you some of my favorite features, and first we're going to be going through my new home screen, and through that I'll be covering the different features of this update that you don't want to miss out on. And starting on the home page, you're going to notice immediately that I have huge widgets that take up about 75% of the space. Now, I never actually used the widgets previously because they were always out of sight and out of mind. Like before, the widgets used to all be over here, but now I have them right up front and center because having them tied into the screen that you are already familiar with is going to bring insane productive value. This could be easily seeing your to-do lists, tasks, projects, messages, and much more as time goes on and integration with future third-party apps work to bring their apps to give you the most value. So for example, for me, I have my to-do list manager, the reminders app right here, so I'm just going to tap on that, and right now I am filming the iOS 14 video, so I'm just going to check that off and then smoothly transition back onto the home screen. Obviously there's still a little bit of bugs because this is a beta, but this just goes to show you what could actually be possible with widgets and even third-party apps that could be either small, medium, or even the large option that they have. Like I said before, I never actually used widgets before just because they were never apparent and were always on this screen, but now having them work alongside you throughout the day and be exactly what you want means that you can use them and save the amount of time that you are actually using your phone. Now, what I mean by working alongside you throughout the day is this smart stack, and depending on the apps that you use at certain times, it'll switch between a list of apps that you can edit very easily. For me, I have saved a lot of time by just easily accessing my widgets and by not having to open the app every single time. For example, if I want to open this podcast right here, instead of going into the podcasts app and then finding that podcast and playing it, I can just easily tap up here and I'm automatically in the player ready to watch. So if you're somebody that is always checking their phone, this is going to be a really nice feature, especially when those third-party apps are added. Again, because it's a beta, you're only limited to certain Apple apps, but once future apps get added, this will be saving you a lot of time added up. Now, the reason that my widgets are set up just like this is so that I can take advantage of the stack feature and see the most important widget at the right time of the day while having access to my most important apps, such as my to-do list. I'll be going more in depth on some of my favorite productivity apps that I think could really benefit you guys. But right now, you're limited to all the stock Apple apps, which is why I'm using these. I also have a smaller stack of widgets to see less pressing things like my calendar and screen time. But you'll notice that I leave the bottom right full of normal apps, tying into the next feature, the app library. For me, I only want to see the apps that I'm actually using frequently, and the rest, I don't want clogging up my phone. And that is where the app library comes in. Immediately, our phones can become way more organized by having everything automatically sorted without even having to think about it. And this will be really useful for all of those school apps that you have to use like once per year but still keep on your phone. You can easily get rid of the clutter and prioritize the apps that you actually want to use. So for example, over here, I have a lot of the apps that I don't use frequently so that if whenever I do need it, I can just access it over here. This also works really well for being able to clear out all the clutter apps by actually removing the window that they are in, but still having an easy place to find them afterwards. Overall, I've been making sure to put my most used apps up front while leaving all the other apps in this area, and this just makes the phone seem way more clean and way more organized. Plus, if you don't want to look through the library like this, you can always just search at the top for your app. So my phone is set up so that, ironically, I can spend the least amount of time on it as possible. Scrolling aimlessly through pages and trying to find my own apps is just something that I'm not interested in. And with this update, organization becomes so much less of a headache. Let me know what your home screen widget setup would look like down in the comments, as there could be something that can make all of ours way more effective. The next best feature is picture-in-picture. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, when I saw this, I wasn't necessarily that excited for this feature just because the phone sizes are pretty small, and I thought, yeah, it'll be cool, but I don't really see the functionality. The functionality for me comes when I'm using FaceTime. See, before you would have to actually go on pause to check anything on your phone, but now you can easily multitask, which I think is going to be really useful for group calls and especially when studying in a group. Look how easily you can just take away the screen, check whatever you need to check, and then bring the screen back. As somebody who FaceTimes a lot, this was really useful on the iPad, and I'm really glad to see this come to the iPhone. And something else that's pretty cool is that instead of the call taking up the entire screen, you can use that space for checking answers, collaborating, and doing whatever you need to do on FaceTime, which is where I think this is gonna shine. Like, as you can see, I'm getting a call right now, but the entire screen, I can still use it, and it's not taking it up like how the old screen would. However, I do know that some people just like to watch everything on their phones, which is why I think that this is also gonna be great for multitasking while watching YouTube or Netflix, just like the iPad. You can move around the screen, resize it, and have all the same functionality that your phone would regularly have. And finally, a feature to aid with us staying connected right now is the new features brought to iMessage. So as you can see here, if I long press this message right here, I can get the option to reply to it. And this is one of the great features that has been brought to iMessage, and that's inline replies. Inline chats are going to be really useful if you have really long conversations with multiple topics and you want to focus on different portions. As you can see here, this message is tied in with these messages up here, and the rest of the messages just get blurred out into the background really seamlessly. Inline replies are going to make communicating way more intuitive, and I can see this really being helpful during exam time when we're all collaborating and in groups where there are a lot of different topics being talked about at once. And finally, we can now pin the most important conversations to the top of our chats just like this to save scrolling time and make the experience that much better. All around, iOS 14 just cleans up the apps and makes them more intuitive for us to take advantage of these brand new features. Organization is just something that becomes way more simpler, and with the addition of being able to just take all of those random apps and dump them into the app library, and along with the widgets, just make that reduced amount of time that you would be spending on your phone that much more productive. Picture-in-picture and the additions in iMessage make staying connected right now that much simpler, while also adding some pretty cool features that prioritize multitasking. And even though my experience with the iOS 14 beta has been pretty good, just remember that it's still a beta. There's still bugs, and if you're gonna download it, just download it at your own discretion. But again, if I missed out on a key feature that you are excited about, be sure to let me know down in the comments, because I know that iOS 14, without a doubt, is gonna provide us a lot of value. And just like iOS 14 could provide you a lot of value, if this video has provided you any value, it would really help my channel if you left a like and even subscribed if you want more videos just like this one. More videos are on the way, so hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss them. I'm Matt, and thanks for watching.